Hello and welcome to Nobody Union's Racial Trivia series, where we focus on a particular race from the Warcraft universe and discuss both its history and any alteration in the World of Warcraft game by Blizzard. Today's racial trivia is on the Bronze Dragonflight. The stoic Bronze Dragonflight is ruled by the aspect Nozdormu, the Lord of Time, and also known as the Timeless One, who was charged long ago as the protector of Azeroth's timelines. Nozdormu would commit his entire flight as the wardens of the time waves and passages of time, ensuring that they were not manipulated by anyone for ill or good. Bronze dragons police the time waves, protecting them from interlopers, restoring them to their proper places, and maintaining the balance of time. When not traveling through the passageways of the caverns of time, they can most often be found in deserts and other dry, arid lands, such as the Tanaris Desert and the barrens of central Kalimdor. As the Bronze Dragonflight is a part of the draconic species, it's a host of a wide variety of draconic kind, as nearly all the other dragonflights are. This would include bronze worms, bronze dragons, bronze drakes, bronze whelps, bronze dragon spawns, and bronze dragonids. To understand the nature of this flight, we're going to look at both their aspect and the flight itself. The following passage is found in Warcraft RPG, Shadow and Light, on page 94 through 97, under Nozdormu the Timeless. Nozdormu the Timeless is one of the great dragons who fought against the demons during the War of the Ancients. Following this intervention, he retreated into seclusion, immersing himself in his duties. He emerges only infrequently when events require his direct presence. He intervened in the defeat of Deathwing at the hands of Crossus and his allies, one of the few times he has been seen in the skies of Azeroth. Nozdormu is tasked with ensuring that the flow of time occurs normally, without interruption, and that events happen as they are fated. To accomplish this mission, Nozdormu knows much about the nature of time. He uses his abilities and powers to prevent others from discovering these same secrets. Should a sorcerer or other mortal being begin to delve too deeply into magic that alters or affects time, Nozdormu always steps in to remove the threat, one way or another. Nozdormu is closely associated with time itself, and is the very soul of patience. He has few worshippers, save perhaps among the Night Elves, who wish to become once again timeless themselves. He pays no attention to those who venerate him, neither accepting nor disapproving of their efforts. Nozdormu lives in the Caverns of Time, a closely guarded complex located deep in the Tanaris Desert. Those who venture there and get past the Bronze Dragon Sentinels rarely emerge unchanged. Some age or become so youthful they are but infants. Others are lost in time and return decades or even centuries later. There are even legends of some who escape the caverns before they even enter. This next passage is found in Warcraft RPG Manual of Monsters, page 33, under Bronze Dragon. The dragon is long and slender, its scales glistening with a metallic sheen. A spiky bone ridge runs down its back and forms a wicked point at the end of its tail. Its form shimmers from gold yellow to rich orange in the sunlight as it darts through the air. Under Description. Bronze dragons are smaller and more agile than dragons of other flights, and they appear to be built for speed rather than stamina. Their bodies are thin and dexterous, with scales almost metallic in appearance. The quality of their scales is such that they are sometimes mistaken for constructs or detailed statuary. Bronze dragons are fastidious, keeping their mesh-like scales clean and shining at all times. Under Bronze Dragon Society. Bronze dragons are very cunning, much like blues, and value wisdom and patience over all else. Nozdormu, their patron aspect of time, is patience incarnate. Bronze dragons exist to keep the time stream inviolate and the order of events progressing as the fates intended. To facilitate this, bronzes are often seen near humanoid civilization. They keep watch over occupied regions to watch the development of other races and monitor how events impact the progress of fate. In the early years, it is said that Deathwing's Black Flight attempted to subjugate the Bronze Dragons. The assault was unsuccessful, primarily because the Bronze Dragons did not stay and fight as expected. His command of time offering insight into the Black's plans, Nozdormu alerted his flight of the danger. The Bronze Dragonflight scattered to the four corners of the globe, where they continue to monitor events. And finally, under combat. Bronze dragons preferred to use their spell-like abilities and breath weapon to confuse and scatter enemies. Afterward, they approach foes singly, swooping from the air or fighting on the ground, depending on which approach offers the best tactical advantage. Bronzes can also be very patient, watching from afar until a target lets down its guard. So the Bronze Dragon culture is very unique in itself. Bronze dragons are very sensitive to the flow and ebb of the time stream, especially Nozdormu and his prime consort, Nozdormu. From within their home, the Caverns of Time, located underneath the vast sands of the Tanaris Desert, the Wardens of Time can often be found disguising themselves in mortal guises and entering the time streams, which they constantly attempt to maintain and repair. Bronze dragons are often solitary creatures. They can best be described as aloof and introspective. They're constantly thinking and debating options in their mind. Bronze dragons are often seen near humanoid civilization. They disguise themselves and join mortal societies for extended periods of time, often without them, the dragons, ever revealing their true identities, possibly for the reason of research or simply because they enjoy doing so. Bronzes will sometimes become actively involved with the communities they have joined, and will lend a hand in order to maintain the safety of the present world at large. They keep watch over occupied regions to watch the development of other races, and monitor how events impact the progress of fate. In their duties, Bronze dragons on occasion turn to mortals. A few individuals in service of the Bronze Flight, possibly Dragonsworn, refer to themselves as Watchers. For example, Baristalt of the Shifting Sands was dying when Anachronos breathed upon him, and he was bound as a Watcher. Jonathan the Revelator was empowered by the Timeless One himself, and became Keeper of the Sacred Gong, and Eternal Watcher of the Bronze Flight. Valoshan, the Eternal Watcher, a Night Elf who is forever tied to Staghelm Point, also appears to be a Watcher. And Zarantar, the Witness, is a Tauran Druid historian who was made a Watcher by Nozdormu in order to continue his studies of mortal civilizations. These individuals have been granted immortality in order to serve the needs of their draconic patrons, but these are a few of the mortal servants who serve draconic kind altogether. Bronze dragon names sometimes end in Dormu for males or Dormi for females, but frequently have names that relate to elements of time. When taking humanoid form, Bronze dragons most often choose either human, High Elven, or Gnomish forms. The history of the Bronze Dragonflight, as you are all aware of, can be traced back to their aspect Nozdormu, receiving his powers from the Titanic Highfather, Amonthul, and committing his flight to the protection of both Azeroth itself and guarding the time waves. The time following this came to be known as the Age of Dragons, when the civilization of dragonkind was at its peak. The Bronze Dragons were numerous and coexisted peacefully with the other dragonflights, working together to safeguard their world. But this age, unfortunately, would not last forever. Centuries later, and prior to the War of the Ancients, Neltharion and his flight, unknown to the others, were irrevocably driven mad, becoming a pawn of the old gods due to the Whisperings. Neltharion planned to betray the other flights and rule the world as he saw fit. When Asha and her Highborn called down the demons to Azeroth, the opportunity finally presented itself. The Bronze and other flights sought a way to push back the Burning Legion, and Neltharion presented the tool to do just that. The demon soul, then known as the dragon soul. This weapon required all the dragons to give up and impart within it a portion of their own power. After doing so, the Bronze Dragonflight joined the others in flight over the battle, and the black aspect unleashed the dragon soul's power, with devastating effects on the demonic swarm. He then shocked his fellow aspects and turned the device on the Night Elf defenders. The other flights rushed to stop the mad aspect, but were unable to act against the disc Neltharion held. The power they had placed in it put them at its master's mercy. However, Malagos in his flight managed to break free and attempted to stop Neltharion and destroy the demon soul, but they failed to do so. Neltharion decimated the blue dragonflight and banished the reds, greens, and bronzes from the battle. Following the betrayal, the surviving red, green, and bronze dragons secluded themselves, hoping to recover from the dragon soul's powers. Though the Legion was ultimately pushed back, the damage to the draconic race had been done. Immediately after the Sundering, to ensure Deathwing would never hold power over Dragonkind again, Alexstrasza, Ursera, and Nozdormu placed an enchantment upon the demon soul so that no dragon could wield it, and hid the foul disc deep beneath the earth. The trio later visited the Night Elf survivors to present the devastated race a gift. Alexstrasza had planted a colossal tree that scraped the heavens within the new Well of Eternity that would come to be known as Nordrasil. Both Nozdormu and Ursera placed their blessings upon it. Through the World Tree, Nozdormu gave the Kaldori Night Elves the gift of immortality, telling them as long as it stood, they would never again age or fall prey to sickness or disease. As already stated, in the early years following the Sundering, Deathwing's Black Flight attempted to subjugate the Bronze Dragons, but as we know, Nozdormu was able to look ahead and alert his flight of this coming genocide. The drawn-out war between the Black Dragonflight and the other Dragonflights nearly destroyed the entire species, with all flights losing members, though the Bronze Flight fared better than most. The Dragonflights hunted the Blacks to the brink of extinction, but were greatly weakened by their sacrifice to the Demon Soul. Ultimately, the Blacks were nearly wiped out, though the other flights never truly recovered from those dark times, and were never again seen in the same numbers as before. The Age of Dragons had finally passed. A millennia ago, the Bronze Flight was approached by the Night Elves to assist in defeating the Karaji during the War of the Shifting Sands. The Bronze Flight initially refused, but reconsidered when the insectoids attacked the fabled Caverns of Time, home of Nozdormu and the Bronze Dragons. After the premeditated assault on their home, the Bronzes joined the war. However, the combined power of the Kaldori and the Bronze Flight still was not enough to push back the Silithid and their Karaji masters. Because of this, Anachronos, heir of Nozdormu, called upon the other flights to aid them in this terrible time. Finally, near the ending of the war, the dragons managed to seal the insectoids away in their city of Ahn'Qiraj, behind the Scarab Wall. The dragons suffered few casualties, but the great bronze worm Gracaron was lost during one of the battles. After the war, Anachronos entrusted the shards of the Scepter of the Shifting Sands to members of the other flights, Valistros, Azaragos, and Uranicus, keeping a shard for himself. During the Second War, the Dragon Queen Alexstrasza was captured by the Orcish horde. While well aware of this, Nozdormu was nonetheless content to let events in the mortal world unfold as they would. Eventually, he was approached by Coralistras, Alexstrasza's youngest consort. Coralistras had invoked a powerful spell to transport himself to Nozdormu's lair, but the Lord of Time was less than pleased to have his peace disturbed. After listening to the Red Consort's plea, Nozdormu declined and decided to erase his visit altogether. Later, Ursera spoke with Nozdormu and Malagos, and convinced them to act after all. During the final battle of the Second War, known as the Battle of Grim Patol, the Demon Soul was finally destroyed, and Nozdormu and the other dragons were finally restored to their full power. Deathwing, who had masterminded the entire event, was chased off by the newly restored aspects. After having the power they lost 10,000 years ago restored, the Bronzes came out of hiding and resumed their watch of the mortal realm. Bronze dragons were once again spotted in places such as the Taenaris Desert and even as far as the Barrens. During the Third War, also known as the Second Coming of the Burning Legion, the Bronze Dragonflight was nearly absent for its entire duration. The mortal races banded together and overcame Archimonde at the Battle of Mount Hyjal. In the aftermath, the Bronze Dragons placed guardians at Hyjal's summit, where they, along with the Reds, Blues, and Greens, guard the World Tree from another attack by the remnants of the Burning Legion in Dark Whisper Gorge. So that brings us to World of Warcraft. Recently, the activity of the Silithid hive spreading throughout southern Kalimdor has aroused Anachronos and the Bronze Flight as well. Bronze drakes and other members of the flight have been spotted flying high over the deserts of Silithus for the first time in 1,000 years. Anachronos has sent his agent Baristalt of the Shifting Sands to find a champion that will recombine the scepters of the Shifting Sands and open the gates of Ahn'Qiraj. He hopes the war can be finished and the threat to Azeroth put to rest once and for all. Nozdormu, an agent of the Bronze Flight, has traveled to Anderhal under the guise of Chromie in order to prevent any tampering with the timeline by the Scourge. Nozdormu also assists willing adventurers in rewriting the events of the Battle of Darrowshire for a better outcome. In the Burning Crusade, the Bronzes also faced a new threat, one that was much closer to home. The Timeless One had sensed a threat to his beloved Time Waves. Shadowy agents, having infiltrated the Caverns of Time, attempted to sabotage 3 key historical events: Thrall's escape from Durnhold Keep, the monumental Battle of Mount Hyjal, and Medivh's creation of the Dark Portal. The Infinite Dragonflight threatened to undo this history. The Bronze Dragons are investigating the intrusion and seek willing adventurers to travel to significant events in the history of Azeroth and help restore the time stream and preserve the future of their world. In Wrath of the Lich King, the Blue Dragonflight, in their militaristic campaign, had laid siege to Wyrmrest Temple in the Dragonblight. The remaining Dragonflights having formed the Wyrmrest Accord, an alliance defending the temple against the Blue Flight. The Bronze Dragonflight sent representatives to aid in the defense of the temple, led by their ambassador Nozdormu and her Gnomish guise Chromie. While in the Dragonblight, Nozdormu wishes to further investigate the Infinite Dragonflight, and sends willing adventurers to the Bronze Dragon Shrine. Sensing the Infinite Dragonflight's further tampering, the Bronze Flight has decided to send willing adventurers back into Stratholme, when the young prince of Lordaeron, Arthas, fought Mal'Ganis, in order to raise the city in hopes of containing the plague. And this more or less sums up the Bronze Dragonflight's history. Unbeknown to some, the Bronze Dragonflight actually has its members broken up into a few different factions inside of its own flight. It's not known if the other Dragonflights have this same system, as there are no known factions within those flights at this time. But if this is the case, this would not only make the Bronzes much more unique to their fellow Dragonflights, but also makes them the most advanced and organized, allowing them to act much quicker and with greater efficiency. It's not known how many factions they have in total, but as of now, these are its known factions. The first is the Brood of Nozdormu. The Brood of Nozdormu is the overall Bronze Dragonflight, those who are loyal to him and their cause. They spend much of their time helping each other out and are some of the most loyal of their entire dragon species. The Brood of Nozdormu can be considered as the entire bulk of the Bronze Dragonflight as a whole. Now the Bronze Dragon Anachronos has returned outside the Caverns of Time in the Taenaris Desert, the Bronze Dragonflight's home and province. Events were set in motion that would shape the future of all of Azeroth, as the attention of the Brood of Nozdormu is focused on Ahn'Qiraj, the fortress city of the Qiraji. A terrible darkness is building up beyond the Scarab Wall, enough to give pause even to the Timeless One himself. The dragons are rallying their champions to descend into the nightmarish hives beneath Ahn'Qiraj and finish what they had once started. The second is the Keepers of Time. At the heart of the Taenaris Desert lies the Caverns of Time, home of the Bronze Dragonflight. Nozdormu and his flight work to safeguard the time stream against all who might disturb the delicate pathways of fate. The Keepers of Time are the most effective and powerful dragons, with the greatest influence on the time waves. They are the inner circle of the Bronze Dragons, and are of higher ranking to their other brethren. They wander through the caverns of time, ensuring that all is well. Together they can influence the pace of time itself, and can greatly affect or influence its flow. Lately, a malevolent force has infiltrated the time waves, and the efforts of this mysterious enemy could lead to destabilization of the world, and even time itself. The Keepers of Time have detected interference at several key points in the history of Azeroth. As already stated, they are Thrall's escape from Durnhold Keep, Medivh's opening of the Dark Portal, and the Battle of Mount Hyjal, where the orcs, humans, and night elves stood united against the might of the Burning Legion. And finally, there is the Scale of the Sands. The Scales of the Sands is a secretive subgroup of the Bronze Dragonflight. All that is really known about it is that it is led by Sora Dormi, who is the prime consort and mate of Nozdormu. It is unknown what their purpose exactly is, though it is suspected they are either a secretive reconnaissance group or a secret police, eliminating threats before they even rise, though, as stated, information about them at this time is very limited. So yeah, this more or less sums up everything regarding both the species and the history of the Bronze Dragonflight. Blizzard did change some things of minor detail, mainly their appearance and their interactions with mortals. But other than that, they greatly expanded the history of the Bronze Dragonflight in a wide variety of ways. I personally find the Bronze Flight to be one of the more interesting flights because of its role to watch over time and destiny itself. It just can create so much potential for lore and history, and the possibilities of it are endless. The concept of actually guarding destiny and fate I find to be very intriguing. Basically, they make sure that your fate is met out for its purpose and that it's not altered or tampered with in any way, and even if it is, they restore it so that it will be met out. I find that to be very interesting. Like the saying, you can't escape your fate. The Bronze Dragons are some of the most reclusive and mysterious of all the dragons, and that's no understatement. They are exceptionally introverted, even among their own kind, and they seek solitude and meditation above all else. They try their utmost best not to interfere with any of the events that happen in the world, unless they absolutely have no other choice. Some have accused them of being cowards because of this, but it has more to do with the fact that the Bronzes already know, well in advance, what's going to happen, and they believe they can't or shouldn't alter destiny by their actions, but let the fate play out as it's supposed to. The Bronzes are also very prideful of their race and appearance, and are exceptionally powerful in the realm of both politics and garnering followers. A lot could be said about the Bronze Flight. They are both wise, yet naive, brave and cunning, swift and powerful, both fast and slow. But most of all, they are very patient. It's no pun to say the Bronze Dragons love to use time itself to their advantage. Alright, so this is it for today. This concludes the trivia of the Bronze Dragonflight. Thank you for watching today's episode. If you want to see more episodes and comparisons, please subscribe to my channel and like this video. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please feel free to message me. Also, don't forget about our new Facebook page that is up and running. The link to that is in the About box. Until next time, I will see you on the next episode.